What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 23 My Team career mode. Last time out we were at the Canadian Grand Prix, and despite the fact that we were running in a extremely strong P3 with just 2 laps to go left in the race, our car broke down and we ended up scoring 0 points. It could have been a really big weekend for us. We had a number of upgrades come onto the car, which finally allowed us to close the gap to some of the cars ahead of us, but we walked away empty-handed, unfortunately. So we're going to have to hope that we bounce back here at the Austrian Grand Prix. It is a sprint weekend, which means we're going to have a sprint race followed by a full-length Grand Prix. But before that, we obviously have to change our turbocharger, which failed. Of all the components which could have failed, probably the best one to do so, considering we were going to replace it for this race anyway. But still disappointing that we weren't able to score any points. Makes it even harder for us now to get to that level of 100 points, which is what we need in order to get the sponsorship bonus for this season and get that. I think it's about $9 million, $10 million, something like that extra. Going to be a big deal. But eventually, when we progress through time, we do get that engine spec upgrade. Which means that there are now going to be 3 more engine upgrades that we can do, but they're all a bit too expensive for the amount of resource points that we have at the moment. But what was not too expensive was this one, the diffuser side fences upgrade, which I am going to set for standard, which should come on the car in time for the Belgian Grand Prix after the sort of summer break, about halfway through the season. We get our front nose upgrade on the car, which means that we're going to be even faster going into the Austrian Grand Prix. However, with a lack of engine power, I think that we will still struggle compared to some of the cars around us. And this might not be the easiest race that we've ever done. I do think that hopefully we should be challenging in the points. I usually do in Austria, in my experience. But I mean, you never know, right? Like anything can happen. And we just have to try and push as hard as we can to try and score points. Now, it is going to be a wet quali. That sometimes plays into my hands, sometimes doesn't. We'll see which scenario it's going to be this time. But then the sprint and the race should both be dry, which should be nice and straightforward. Now, we're coming off the back of what I would say is typically a pretty good run of form. You know, if we ignore the fact that obviously I didn't score any points due to the mechanical failure, you know, we were on course to get 2 podiums in a row because we had a podium in Monaco, the race before Canada as well. And not only that, but Dennis Hauger has also been on the fringes of scoring points for the past couple of races as well. So I'm optimistic that he might be able to get a decent result here again as well. I think, again, my goal for him is simply going to be making it through to Q2. And then if he can sort of maybe move forward a little bit over the course of the race, speak of the devil, there he is. But yeah, if he can maybe make up a place or 2 over the course of the race, that would be pretty nice. We actually had a really good pace in practice. I know it doesn't look like it's like blinding or anything, but I set that time on my 7th lap that I did on the same set of tyres, so that made me pretty optimistic that actually our pace was quite good if we were able to sort of contend with times people were doing on the softs on 7-lap-old mediums. I was thinking to myself, okay, yeah, this might not go so badly after all. So practice, obviously, the goal has to be to make it at least through to Q3, but hopefully maybe to the upper echelons of Q3. If the track dries out over the course of the session, then maybe we have a chance to do something a little bit special and really. You know, maybe go for pole position or something like that. If you saw the performance index there, you'll see we've basically caught up with Alpine now. We're just a few, like, I don't know what you call them, development points or whatever away from them. But on paper, we should probably be about as fast as them. Maybe not at this circuit, but certainly at more aero and chassis dependent circuits, I'd say that we would be at least on pace with Alpine, if not faster than them. And then once we get those engine upgrades on the car, we'll be faster than, or at least as fast as them, around the powertrain circuits as well. So then it's really going to come down to driver skill and that kind of thing, and we can really start focusing on maybe upgrading Hauger's pace and that kind of thing. But anyway, here we are in qualifying for the Austrian Grand Prix. We're on a set of wet tyres at the moment. It's a 1:16 for our first lap. We split the Alpines straight down the middle between Ocon and Gasly, but as I'm sure as the session progresses, we might need to do a faster time than that in order to improve. And indeed, you can see that our best time was only good enough for P18 at the moment, so we're going to need to improve as we round the final corner. We're 7 tenths up. I think we should be fine. We need to improve by 4 tenths to beat Albon, so it should be alright. And as we come up to the line, it's a 1:15.2. which is good enough to see us through in P8. So that is a pretty solid time. I'll be pretty happy with that if we get that kind of time, or that kind of position in Q3. But obviously we've got to make it through to Q3 first by going through Q2. Speaking of people who will be appearing in Q2, Dennis Hauger has also made it through in P16. Pretty happy with that. And he knocks out both Alpha Tauris of Albon and De Vries, both Williams of Lawson and Fittipaldi, and both Hasses of Sargent and Hulkenberg. So yeah, Hauger making it through to Q2 for the 3rd consecutive race, I believe. Pretty strong performance from him. Pretty happy with that. And yeah, it looks like he's really starting to develop quite nicely. So good stuff from Hauger, and yeah, hopefully we'll be able to see him showcase even more pace as we continue to develop the facilities even further, and also the resources on our car as well. You know, the car parts. Hopefully he should move forward. We beat out both Alpines on our first flying lap on a set of Inters. It's a 1:13.0, but the track is going to continually dry out, and you can see we actually set a purple sector 2 on our second flying lap on a set of intermediate tyres, and well, we're improving quite a lot. It looks like Hauger is going to be out because I think I'm the last person to cross the line, so it's going to be P15 for him, unfortunately. But you know, he did pretty well to make it through Q2. I'm not going to get too mad about anything more than that. Yeah, solid result from him. We crossed the line. It is a 1:11.7, and that is good enough to see us through to Q2, or Q3 I should say, in P1. Yeah, obviously track was drying out, so I don't know if we're necessarily going to get pole position in the next session, but at least we can be pretty happy with the performance that we've shown here. You know, making it through. We were 1,000th of a second faster than Piastri in the end there. Yeah, the eliminations there were Sainz, Magnussen, Perez, Tsunoda, Hauger, and Joe. So Perez and Sainz maybe are slightly surprising, but you know, someone's got to be eliminated every time, right? So I guess you know, the Ferraris or the Red Bulls, maybe even the Aston Martin of Magnussen is a little bit surprising, considering I think that is still the fastest car on the grid, and Magnussen has kind of had Stroll's number so far this season. So yeah, a little bit surprising there from Magnussen that he was the one to get eliminated, but it is what it is. And well, the track seems to be almost dry now at this point. But we're on the intermediates for the time being, and we are going to cross the line to do a 1:10.7. It's good enough for P2 at the moment. Pretty happy with that, but maybe we can improve even further, especially if the track dries out. But I actually made a big blunder, and the track was dry enough for softs, but the game still told me that the track was slightly damp. And so I decided I was going to go out on intermediates again, and that is really going to cost me, unfortunately, because everyone doing their runs on softs. I probably could have got pole position here if I hadn't have done this, but I think we're going to be lucky to be anything other than 10th. And as we come on the run up to the line, I think it was about a 1:07.7, 7.8, something like that, which was good enough for P8. I think we could have had pole position here, to be honest with you guys. I am really disappointed in that.
We're all ready for tomorrow's race, but before we begin, let's have a quick look at those who will be fronting the grid. Bottas, Russell, and Charles Leclerc. With qualifying wrapped up, we now have our grid line up for the big race tomorrow. Be sure to join us then for what will no doubt be a fantastic race.
Yeah, I could have gone 8/10 faster than that on a set of softs, for sure, 100%. With the track spacing we had, with the track position and all that kind of thing, 8/10 was going to be easy. We'd probably been into the low 106s, I reckon. So yeah, really, really frustrated about that. Just the game telling me the track was still too wet for softs. It didn't say, but you know, that's why you should check manually and see what the game sort of says the delta is going to be for the tires. Yeah, really, really frustrated about that, but it is what it is. And we're just going to have to see what we can do from P8 on the grid, it seems. You know, these things happen from time to time. You make a few blunders. Perhaps we've sabotaged our chance of scoring big points here today, but hopefully we can still score a few points starting from P8, see if we can make our way through the grid, and we will see what we can get done as we get into the Austrian sprint.
Welcome to today's sprint. This is shaping up to be another fantastic weekend. Let's run you through the drive the grid order for today's exciting sprint. Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole position, and starting next to them is George Russell. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Leclerc, Norris, Verstappen, Gasly, Ocon, Robinson, Oscar Piastri, Stroll, Sainz, Magnussen, Perez, Tsunoda, Hauger, Joe, Albon, Liam Lawson, Sargent, Fittipaldi, Hulkenberg, and Nick de Vries. And with preparations almost complete, let's head trackside for today's sprint.
Well, starting P8 here in the sprint, I'm sure we can make up a few positions at least. And, well, the personalised strategy was suggesting that I should go on the mediums. But when I did the race strategy program in practice, it said that my tyre wear was at like a 0.8 times factor over what was projected. And I figured if the projected strategy was to go on a set of softs, I should probably try and take a set of softs, because I'm not going to wear them out anywhere near as much as is projected. So I think we should be fine to take a set of softs for 12 laps here. And it seemed like I was right, because pretty much everyone around me was also on a set of softs. And I feel like if we'd have been on the mediums, we would have been at a massive disadvantage. We have both of the Alpines here starting ahead of us, so I'm hoping we can get ahead of at least one of them, because, well, I really do want to beat them in the Constructors' Championship and fight for P6 again this year. I feel like, unfortunately, both Aston Martin and Ferrari seem to have a bit too much pace for us at the moment. But maybe, just maybe, we will be able to contend with them as well. We will see what we can do as the lights come on. And the lights go out, and we've gotten away well compared to Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly there. And we get ahead of Lando Norris as well for good measure in the McLaren, and we are up into P5. And, well, maybe we can start piling some pressure on some of the cars in front of us as well. Try and get ahead of Verstappen here, but you can see he just has the straight line speed on lock compared to us, unfortunately. So, yeah, we have to fall back for the time being, but we dive up the inside of him. And, well, we actually make a bit of contact with Leclerc there. I thought about trying to go up the inside of him as well, but he just closed the door a little bit too quickly for me to stick a wheel in there. So it's P4 for the time being, but I'm sure that Max Verstappen will have something to say about that pretty quickly. He is in a very fast Red Bull compared to us. We still don't have the pace on them whatsoever. They have a very quick engine. So, yeah, I would wager to say that there is going to be a very slim chance that we keep him behind for the whole race. But the Alpines, you know, while I do think that they are faster than us just because of the significant engine advantage that they're going to have over us, I do think that there is a chance that we might be able to contend with them at least a little bit here as Max Verstappen makes his way through into the final couple of corners. And, yeah, that was at least a little bit too trivial for Max Verstappen, I think, as he makes his way through into P4. And we are back down into P5. But still, nonetheless, a pretty solid start from us, and hopefully will help us on our way to scoring points here in the Austrian sprint race. But as we move on to lap 4 now, Lando Norris is piling some serious pressure on us. And we actually made a bit of contact there, I think, as we go slightly off the track. And, yeah, fortunately we didn't pick up any damage there. I don't think Norris did either. And, well, eventually he manages to make the overtake as a result. And, well, yeah, I don't know. I just didn't seem to have the pace to contend with him. We will now have the DRS to be able to try and hopefully get back ahead of him. And we'll see what we can do as we pull to the outside. We're going to try and go around the outside of him at turn 3 because that kink apparently is turn 2. So there you go. And we just about managed to make the move on him. And yeah, that is us back through into P5. But I think he might have something to say about that, and he's going to try and fight us back in a similar position. Is he going to go for the same move he went for on the previous lap into the corners of 9 and 10? I think he is. And well, we don't quite make contact. Oh, we do. We do actually. We make contact in a different place on this occasion. But we've been promoted up one position because George Russell has had the box, and the only person I can conceivably see who he would have hit in order for that to happen is his teammate Valtteri Bottas. So yeah, really trouble down at Mercedes at the moment, as this seems to be going from bad to worse for Russell, who won the first 5 races of the season, and he's been nowhere lately, as Oscar Piastri, of all people, makes a very trivial overtake on me as we move into lap 8. Yeah, I didn't really even make it a contest for him, and we're already so far behind him by the time we get to the DRS zone. I just think to myself, there's absolutely no way we're going to be piling any kind of pressure on him. And yeah, that was us bullied down into P5, but Perez is also going to have something to say as he tries to go for a move on us on lap 8. We just about managed to stick around the outside of him, but he's going to get the DRS here, I imagine. He doesn't quite have the speed to get past us now, but well, it just seems like out of this corner here, I think that's turn 8. I'm just really, really slow for whatever reason, and that is allowing the AI to get really good runs on me by comparison. And, well, that is Perez through and into P6. So we have fallen quite significantly, but we are a couple of seconds ahead of Norris and Magnussen here, which I'm hoping should allow me to keep them behind, hopefully, for the remainder of the sprint. But, well, I think that they could close me down if they have the pace. And you can see that Magnussen, after he got ahead of Norris, he actually did close me down towards the end as we move into the final sector of the final lap. Max Verstappen wins the sprint as Leclerc leads home Bottas, and that's the sprint podium there. Magnussen piles a little bit of pressure on me, and yeah, that is going to be the end of that as we round the final corner, across the line, and it's P6 in the sprint. 3 hard-earned points, and yeah, hopefully we can build on that and maybe try and score a few more points in the race itself. Sergio Perez grabbing driver of the day there, and yeah, hopefully we can have a good one.
So let's see how the drivers' standings have changed. Our championship leader is still sat at the top of the standings, but their rivals have made up some solid ground today. The grid is set then, so that just leaves the race itself. Join us tomorrow, where we'll be live with all the action, and until then, goodbye.
Yeah, it was the Red Bull of Max Verstappen authoritatively winning that one, getting ahead of both Mercedes in the end, who looked like they had that on lock at one point, but well, they ended up coming together, and that ended up costing them not only 2 cars on the podium, but also probably the win for either of their drivers, as George Russell failed to even score any points. Bottas only picked up 6 as he came home in 3rd, and well, that is not what they would have wanted at all on a weekend that they probably would want to convert, being 1st and 2nd in the sprint. They're now going to have a lot of work to do in the race, but we are also going to have a fair amount of work to do still if we want to grab some more points. You know, I am very eager to continue forging ahead in the championship, so we'll see what we can do as we get into the Austrian Grand Prix.
Welcome to the beautiful Styrian Mountains for another chapter in the story of this famous race. It's time for the Austrian Grand Prix. Seven rights and just 3 left-handers make up the 10 corners of this high-speed circuit. Turn 2 is flat out, a left-hand kink into the uphill braking zone of turn 3. Turns 1, 3 and 4 are all potential opportunities to overtake. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Bottas, Oscar Piastri, Perez, Robinson, Norris, Ocon, Sainz, Russell, Gasly, Stroll, Joe, Fittipaldi, Magnussen, Hulkenberg, Hauger, Liam Lawson, De Vries, Sargent, Albon, and Yuki Tsunoda. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. Anthony Davidson is with us in the commentary box once again. The drivers are working so hard on these cars, and you've been part of that in all aspects, developing, testing, and driving the car. Tell us about that hard work.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. They're 2 very different mindsets. In the old days, of course, they used to cover up to 15,000 kilometres of testing in a season, and that role would be more about working for the team, trying to help them improve the car and drive as systematically as possible, so that the data could be analysed in the most consistent way. When lining up on the grid for a race, however, a race driver's frame of mind is all about what they can get out of the situation on that day, and the car is the tool to help them achieve those goals.
Yeah, it is going to be a lot of work over the course of these 36 laps to be able to score a good number of points and forge ahead in the championship. You know, we've got a big deficit to overcome if we want to catch the 2 teams ahead of us, Ferrari and Aston Martin. So we're going to have to work incredibly hard, dig deep, and keep developing the car. But, you know, we turned things around last season quite dramatically, actually, after a really poor run of form in the midpoint of the season. And this season, maybe our poor run of form is going to be at the start of the season, and we will be able to pick up some strong points in the midpoint of the season this time around. So, yeah, you never know until you find out. But I was still having sort of sunshine and rainbows at this point last season, so who knows what the remainder of the season is going to hold. But we will see what the Austrian Grand Prix holds as the lights come on. and the lights go out, and we've gotten away quite well once again, piling some pressure on Oscar Piastri here, and maybe Sergio Perez as well. Are we going to dive up the inside? No, we aren't, but Piastri is, and he clatters into the side of Sergio Perez, and that is not what the Australian driver would have wanted at all. That is probably some damage for him, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him pit at the end of this lap. So we have to now try and thread the needle and clear him as quickly as we possibly can, basically, because we do not want to get stuck behind that damaged McLaren. We're already a second behind Sergio Perez, and I mean, it's only been a few corners, because Oscar Piastri through these corners is just so slow, but he's really fast in a straight line. We even get a snap of oversteer there because we go into the back of him, and I tried to back out of it. They say it's a decent start, but I mean, I'm pretty disappointed with this personally. I don't know. I feel like I would have preferred to just clear him as quickly as I possibly could, but you can see even as we exit from turn 8, I just don't seem to have the pace right now. I'm actually coming under pressure from his teammate Lando Norris. Fortunately, he gets caught up behind his own teammate, so he can't pile any pressure on us through turn 9 and 10, and as I predicted, Oscar Piastri is coming into the pits, so that is going to be us promoted up into P5 off of the start. But still, what a weird move from Oscar Piastri. Very, very, very bizarre decision from him. We make our way now onto lap 3, end of lap 3, start of lap 4, and here comes Lando Norris on those medium tyres, diving up the inside into the first corner. But we maybe get a slightly better exit than him through the first corner, and that is going to allow us to put some pressure on him all the way up the hill with the DRS as well. And yeah, we're going to try and go around the outside of him now. We've been going for this a little bit over the course of the race, and we just about managed to stick with him, and that is going to allow us to make our way through and back up into P5. We lost it momentarily, but we are right back there before you can say DRS. Yeah, it's just a lot of pace that the AI seem to have that I don't have, especially in a straight line, which is exactly what I anticipated was going to happen. So I'm not too surprised. But as long as we can stay within the DRS of these people, maybe sort of chain DRS off one another, hopefully I should be able to stay with them. But Carlos Sainz actually is so fast in a straight line there. He gets ahead of both me and Norris. But we run over the track a little bit, but we do manage to run around the outside of both of them and back up into P5. Go from P7 to P5 in that corner. And well, it was a bit of a cheeky overtake. Obviously, we did cut the track a little bit. But, you know, a little corner cutting never hurt anyone as we get onto the curb there quite dramatically. Move on to the end of lap 8 now, and you can see that Carlos Sainz is really looking to make a move on me here now. And, well, as we move into lap 9, he does exactly that, and he is through and up into, I believe this is P5 still, but I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to roll over that quickly. I think Norris had actually pitted at this point because I think he picked up some damage or something. So yeah, he's pitted already, but I'm sure we'll come back later in the race, put on a set of hard compound tyres and hope for the best. We make our way around the outside of Sainz again, and that is us back up into P5. We're not willing to let go of this one. We're going to basically go for the same move lap after lap after lap after lap, and yeah, see what we can do effectively. So yeah, we're doing quite well at the moment, holding on to this P5 quite nicely. This will be 10 points if we can finish here. I think Hauger has had a pretty good start to the race as well. He's running in about like 12th or 13th, I think, at the moment. So yeah, a good start from the Norwegian there, and hopefully he can continue that strong run of form. Russell now overtaking us, but we're going to try and fight him back if we can, maybe into the first corner. Doesn't seem like we're quite there, unfortunately, and yeah, he's going to break away from us, I think. So as we make our way onto lap 15 now, we're coming under pressure from Esteban Ocon in the Alpine. But you know, maybe we can challenge him back into the next DRS zone when we have the DRS. Just going to make sure we get the power down nice and quickly without sending the car into a bit of a spin, and maybe we can pile some pressure on him into the following corner. But as we get to the corner, we're just not quite close enough to go for a move. And yeah, Ocon I think is going to hold on to this P6 actually. We should not have to worry too much about any pressures from Gasly. I think he's a little bit too far behind to have to worry about that at the moment. But still, yeah, really surprisingly high level of pace from the Alpines, who we're very close to in the performance index. But I guess the performance that each of our cars have is just a different kind of performance. But here we go. Ocon now is coming into the pits which means he is almost certainly going to be a long way ahead of me as we cut the track again, and that was a really silly one this time. But yeah, Ocon coming into the pits, and that might be the end of me racing with him, I would imagine. A few other cars pitting as well. We're up into P4 momentarily, but at the end of this lap, we are going to be coming into the pits alongside pretty much everyone else, except Verstappen, who I believe started on the medium, so he is going to be going slightly longer, but not too much longer, I imagine. And yeah, we will see who jumps us in the pit stop phase. Really, who I'm interested in is Gasly more than anything, because he's the driver that we were racing with pre pit stop phase, and Ocon too, of course. Both of the Alpines really is who I'm focusing on. And we have a pit stop error, which is going to really harm us. And both Ocon and Gasly managed to jump us. So before the pit stop phase, we were racing to be ahead of both of the Alpines, and after the pit stop phase, we are going to be behind both of the Alpines. And this is incredibly disappointing. Not what I would have wanted at all. We make our way over the course of the lap, and Gasly has almost broken out of DRS range. Not quite, and maybe this is going to be about the only saving grace we're going to have. As good thing, that was a big hiccup. Yeah, as we have a few pit stops for the likes of Magnussen and Hauger, and I believe Joe as well. So we're up into P9. But I think this is legitimately where we are on pace. You know, some of the cars who stopped earlier, including Lando Norris, I don't think are going to be stopping again. So yeah, we might be in P7 if Norris stops again, but he's on the hards, so I'm not actually convinced he's going to. And yeah, we're going to be overtaking Gasly now here into the left-handers of, I believe, turns 6 and 7, and making our way up into P8 once again. But I wouldn't be surprised if Gasly has something to say about that. As you can see, he is making his way back through up into P8 on lap 22. 14 laps to go, and I think this is going to be a tooth and nail battle between myself and Gasly here. Carlos Sainz starting to get involved as well there in P10. You can see on those hard compound tyres, he wants to slice the action, but will he get it or not? I don't know. I definitely think that it's going to be a hard fought battle between me and Gasly, though, regardless of what happens over the remainder of this race. He's just you know, really quick in that Alpine. Both the Alpines are very quick. I wanted to catch up to the cars in front. You know, we were at one point closing down Norris before Gasly kind of got involved in this battle. But then once I was going wheel to wheel with the likes of Sainz and Gasly, as you can see, Sainz making his way through on me now. Once I was starting to get sort of involved in battles with them, it was really quite difficult to sort of keep him behind. I don't know, as yeah, we start to get overtaken by some of these guys as well, coming under pressure from Carlos Sainz here, and also from Pierre Gasly, actually, who you can see is going to go for a move, capitalise on the fact I was slightly stuck behind Carlos Sainz there, and that is me down into, I believe this is P10 now. So yeah, we're actually on the verge of falling outside of the points. We're going to have to do something quite dramatic here if we want to keep them at bay. So yeah, not going to be easy to get back ahead of them, but we'll see what we can do as we try and get ahead of Pierre Gasly here. Now he's going to defend to the inside at this first corner, and we dive around the outside of the Frenchman, and that is us up into P9. But you know, we've got our work cut out for us if we want to get even further ahead of these people. You know, you can see Carlos Sainz there is just you know, still significantly further ahead of us, and well, interestingly, at some point he must have got behind us, because now you can see he's down in P10 again. I'm not sure what happened there, but yeah, he's fallen behind us, and here comes Pierre Gasly putting a bit of pressure on us, and there's no less than 4 cars now gunning for this P8 spot, including Magnussen, Gasly, Sainz and Stroll. And well, we're going so slowly that it looks like a McLaren of Oscar Piastri is going to get involved. I believe that Williams is actually a lapped car, so we don't have to worry about him. But yeah, Oscar Piastri might get involved before the end of the race here as well. So yeah, we're going to be under a lot of threat from these guys behind, including Kevin Magnussen, who, as we move on to lap 32, is going to be putting some pressure on us, making his way through up into P9, or sorry, up into P8. We're down into P9, and Gasly looks like he's going to go for a move as well. But yeah, I need to make sure I can stay with Kevin Magnussen, because I don't want him to break away. You know, I want these 4 points at least for P8. I don't want to fall any lower than that if we can avoid it. But you know, I think it is going to be very, very difficult to keep these guys at bay in their significantly faster automobiles. That said, Kevin Magnussen still not able to break away from me on this occasion. As we move to lap 33, I'm going to dive down the inside of him into turn 4, and that is us back up into P8 as we come around turn 5 now. And yeah, we just seem to have just enough pace to contend with him. He's going to try and fight me back through turn 6 here, and I don't know who's going to win out. I think it's just about going to be me. And yeah, as we make our way through turns 7 and 8, we are just about holding on to this. But this is where I've been weak all weekend. And well, you can see that Magnussen is going to go for a move up the inside through turn 9, and as we make our way through turn 10, he backs out of it. But is he now going to try and pile some pressure on me into lap 34? Only 3 laps left to go here now. And, well, it could be anyone's game. I might score points, I might not. I've got 4 angry men behind me who are desperate to get into the points and get as many points as they can for their championship battles. You know, I think if Gasly finishes ahead of me here as well, Alpine might jump us in the Constructors, so it's imperative that I finish ahead of him. I have no idea how I didn't get a corner cut warning for doing that, but we didn't. So we are back up into P8 after falling down momentarily into P9 with that overtake from Kevin Magnussen. And, well, this is just stress city right now for us. We are really, really under pressure. But someone who is not going to be coming under any more pressure in this race is Zhou Guanyu. He was having a difficult race anyway, definitely not within the points. Must be difficult for these guys, you know, because the Alfa Romeo last season was a car that sometimes really did surprise. You know, Tsunoda, I think, was on the podium at least once, if I remember correctly, in the Alfa Romeo last season. And Zhou Guanyu had his flashes of brilliance as well. But this season, they are right back down at the bottom end of the pecking order. And that can't be easy for a driver like Zhou Guanyu, especially in his 4th year in Formula 1. He's going to want some machinery that can actually help him challenge, at least for some points, so he can show what he can do. But he does not get it at the moment. And, well, yeah, the retirement even coming his way. Very disappointing for the Chinese driver there. But we make our way finally onto the final lap of the Grand Prix, and all we have to do is hold off Kevin Magnussen for one more lap. You can see we were so far down on the race leaders that Valtteri Bottas crossed the line about 10 seconds after I did for the final lap. So he was about 50 seconds ahead of us or something ridiculous like that. But yeah, we did a good job of defending here. We kept the cars at bay. I don't think Kevin Magnussen is going to pile any more pressure on us now. We just about managed to withstand the sort of pressure he was trying to mount, which wasn't that impressive, to be honest. But as we burn the battery to the line, we're going to cross it, take P8, and that is 4 hard-earned points for us today. So yeah, we don't beat both Alpines, and crucially, we don't beat Ocon, my rival, which is who I really would have wanted to have beaten. But we do pick up some good points. We continue making our way up the order, and all's well that ends well.
On the wall, welcoming their driver over the line. It's celebrations in the Styrian Alps. Mercedes are on top form once again after an excellent race weekend. It's great to see them up on that podium once again.
Valtteri Bottas finally claiming his first win of the season. McLaren had things all their own way for a little bit, but it is Bottas back on top here in Austria. A track he absolutely loves. He used to do very well here in Mercedes, and it's not surprising to see him doing well here once again with the team that gave him so much in the past. He is once again rewarding that faith from them, and well, his form recently has been slightly better than Russell's. He is joined by both Red Bulls, Verstappen and Perez, and well, this championship is getting more and more interesting as Russell continues to find himself off the podium.
And after this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the drivers' table. That's a positive result for George Russell, who further solidifies his position at the top of the standings. Some amazing talent out there on track today, but Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
That's got to be the Flying Finn. Wait, how many Flying Fins have we had now? Anyway, I'm talking about Bottas this time. Just great raw speed, and a good job in traffic as well.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. Mercedes move to the top of the table. And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.
Well, we have jumped Lance Stroll in the driver's standings. We are up to P10 in the driver's standings now. We are continuing to keep Alpine at bay in the Constructors' Championship just about. Now, obviously, I do want to try and hold on to as many championship positions as I can. But if you know, if we don't do it, it's not the end of the world. What I'm really focused on is that 100 points this season. We're currently at 37. We're almost at the halfway mark of the season. I'd say 2 more races and you can officially call it the halfway mark of the season. We need to make sure we have enough money to afford Dennis Hauger's contract renewal. Because, you know, these last few races, he's been impressive enough, I would say, that I think I want to keep hold of him. As long as he doesn't absolutely bottle it these next couple of races in Britain and France, I think that we should be good to sort of, you know, renew our confidence in him for another 12 races after that, and yeah, see out at least the rest of the season with him, unless he somehow develops some extremely amazing raw pace over the course of the season. I do think that it's likely that will be the last we will see of him, at least for now. You know, obviously I wanted him to do well at this team. I really am a big fan of Dennis Hauger, probably my favourite driver in Formula 2 in real life at the moment. So I wanted things to be good with him, but unfortunately I think, you know, just if we sort of break the fourth wall for a little bit, as it were, unfortunately I just don't think that his stats are high enough to really kind of solidify himself as a true sort of contender. You know, even though we're quite close to the Alpines in the performance index, he's still absolutely nowhere near them in terms of his own performance. They're a lot further ahead of him, and well, I think that it's just going to be too much to ask of him unless we upgrade our driver facilities a lot. But really, what I want is someone who I can get in the car and they can immediately just sort of start delivering with what they're capable of without me upgrading those facilities too much. Because I think a lot of those facility upgrades are probably going to come towards the start of Season 4 and over the course of Season 4. So, yeah, it's not... If we're going to be challenging for the Constructors in Season 4, I need someone who can be fighting at the front from the get-go. And unfortunately, I don't think that person is going to be Dennis Hauger. So, yeah, let me know who you think we should sign. I've had a few people in the comments suggest certain drivers that they thought I should get. You know, I've heard Piastri, Alonso. Obviously, he's retired now, but in the past, people were talking about Alonso. Piastri was a one that people were naming at certain times. I've heard Tsunoda as well as quite a popular one. So, yeah, let me know who you think we should sign as our teammate for Season 4. Still a long way away, but obviously, you know, helps to get the gears turning as quickly as we possibly can. But yeah, this is not the best race of our season so far, but certainly not one that we needed to be disappointed in. Next up is the British Grand Prix. I always look forward to that one. Hopefully we can get the crowd buff there. And that is going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.